Very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on the Friday edition of the show. It's the last one for the week. We'll do our best to make it worth your while. I'm Yemi Adebayo.
And I'm Cecilia Omogbe. And of course, today is election day, both in FIFA and, of course, CAF. But the CAF election will be today, and we already know who the president will be.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, Amaju Pinnick also contesting for a seat on the FIFA Council. And like Cecilia said, we already know who the CAF president will be, but for the seats on the FIFA Council, we'll see what's going to happen. At the end of today, we're going to know whether or not the NFF president, Amaju Pinnick, will get his desire, which is to get on the FIFA Council. All right, so let's move on the show this morning and talk about the Swiss Maestro, Roger Federer. His comeback has ended. Early exit at the Qatar Open. He lost to Nicolas Basilashvili 3-6, 6-1, 7-5. And the journey ends there. Roger Federer has also said he'll be skipping a couple of tournaments so that he could be well rested and train for the upcoming tournaments. Most especially, he's thinking about a Grand Slam already.
Of course, grass court season, that's where he's going to focus his attention on. Also on the program, the Rockets can't just arrest their losing run. It's now 14. After the All-Star break, we were thinking maybe Rockets might just have to, get back to winning ways. But then the losing run continued. And of course, they lost to Sacramento Kings this morning. And the story surrounding this is the fact that PJ Tucker, that was expected to start the game, he did not show up. And of course, a trade deal and all that is all going on right there in the NBA. But then that's why we are starting off the show this morning, taking a look at all the results, the games that were played last night. More than 11 matches were played. The first one after the All-Star break, of course, we had just 2 games. But now the NBA's second half of the season started fast, so far. So let's take a look at the results coming from the NBA. Of course, we talked about the Pistons, Detroit Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets. It was 102-105. That was just a 3-point game. Also, the other games for last night, Celtics, the Boston Celtics, and of course, well, the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, they're more like a team to beat right now.
Kyrie Irving.
I mean, this guy showing up 40 points on the night he brought up for them. And of course, you have the Hawks and the Raptors, 121 and 120. That's a 1-point game. Those are the kind of games you look at, and it's really painful because it's just a 1-point game. For the Magic and the Heat was just too much for the Magic. It was 103 and 111. 76ers and Chicago Bulls, 127 and 105. And the Knicks and the Bucks, it was 101 and 134. Milwaukee Bucks definitely not smiling. Giannis Antetokounmpo carrying, what he got, from the All-Star game into their team. For the Timberwolves and the Pelicans, it was 135 and 105. That's 30 points game, more like a blowout for the New Orleans Pelicans. For the Mavericks and the Thunder, it was 108 and 116. For the Golden State Warriors and the Clippers, it was a rout. I mean, Steph Curry, the 3-point shooting contest, he won it. And of course, he went on to have 28 in the All-Star. But this one, I mean, where was Steph Curry? That's the question we're all asking.
I was reading one of the, let me just quickly say this. I was reading one of the post-game comments, and one of the guys said, usually you see people, maybe Steve Kerr or Draymond Green, be the ones screaming and having those talk, but it was Steph Curry. Showing his frustration, talking with his colleagues, and a lot of people thought, okay, he will use his performance to gear up his team, but even his performance on the night wasn't as much as to be desired, and so wasn't a good one for the Warriors. But you have those days once in a while, and hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. Yeah,
that game we'll talk more about is going to be our focus this morning. And for the Suns and the Blazers, it was 127 and 121. Of course, the guy always put up numbers. It was all about Devin Booker on the night. So he had 35 points to inspire the Phoenix Suns to that victory. Damian Lillard had 30, but then it just wasn't enough. Okay, now let's talk about the game between the Warriors and the Clippers, Yemi. That game, of course, you expected, as you mentioned earlier, you expected all the star players to come to the party. But then not all of them came to the party because Steph Curry just wasn't there. He scored 7 points in the third quarter. I mean, the Warriors were just limited to 25 points in that third quarter. And Steph Curry had to sit out the fourth quarter.
Overall, he scored 14 points.
That's it.
14 points.
14, so which wasn't really cool.
But
That's
it's very
not, yeah.
high standards that we are used to. That was a
Disastrous.
poor outing, poor showing. And of course, like anybody who's a serial winner, he will be frustrated.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. Probably just a bad day in the office.
It was so bad. I mean, but the route was so much.
It was a rout.
Kawhi Leonard scored 28 points in 3 quarters. I mean, that was really huge. And of course, same Leonard had to score the Clippers' final 14 points to the end. I mean, which was really not so good for the which was not so good for the Warriors because they just gave time to some of these star players to just continue. And of course, the Clippers had to close up the run. That I mean, you had Paul George, then you have Kawhi Leonard, you have these guys just having a feed day. We could have expected maybe some players from the Warriors side to put up some numbers, but it just wasn't to be. Paul George on the night added 17 points. Serge Ibaka also had 16 points and 14 rebounds for the Clippers. Andrew Wiggins was the guy who got most, and Kelly Oubre both scoring 15 points for the Warriors. Of course, as you mentioned, Steph Curry just limited to 6 of 16 shooting, which was just 14. And he missed 7 of 8 shots from long range, from the 3-point range. I mean, this is the guy who won the 3-point contest just last weekend, but it was limited.
And it's been 3 losses for them now. The next game is against the Utah Jazz. So we'll see what happens. But they'll be looking at the Rockets and like, I hope we don't get to 14. But I don't think we will get to that point. But it's something that is cause for concern.
Cause for concern. And of course, we talked about the Rockets earlier. I mean, they just can't seem to arrest the slide they're currently on. I mean, they're losing games, and the story from there is that PJ Tucker, he wants to be traded. So he left Houston. He's not there. And of course, the coach is thinking that he may not just come back. So there's a big issue right now with the Rockets dealing with the losses and dealing with a player who wants to be traded. It's like we're having deja vu again, you know, when James Harden wanted to leave and all that. They had all these stories and all, sitting out games, didn't train. This time around, I mean, a player that was expected to start, they all have eyes on him thinking when he's there, it's going to add to, you know, at least help them not to lose. But right now, it might just be difficult for them because the coach, Steven Silas and Victor Oladipo have been talking about how much they missed this guy because he was expected to start the game, but he just wasn't there.
We must quickly, before we even begin to talk about player power, which is what's happening here, we must also talk about the injuries they've had to deal with. And some of the guys that were supposed to be backup, had to step up to play on the day. So we'll see what happens. But then again, player power, at some point, you can't keep a player who's not happy. You could try. I mean, they tried keeping the beard, but it was counterproductive. And when a player starts going elsewhere and, you know, making you miss games that you think you can win, then the trade is imminent.
It's imminent. Of course, the coach said he doesn't expect him to come back to Houston. And Victor Oladipo obviously is frustrated by that because for his team, he had 28 points on the night, but that just wasn't enough. Let's take a listen to him.
Yeah, PJ's not with the team. He traveled here, but is traveling back to Houston. And we're gonna try to figure out something that works for him and works for us as far as him not being on the team anymore. I was under the assumption that he was going to be playing tonight, and he didn't play. And that was disappointing, but there's no secret that it's been a rough year. He's been professional. He's been, in the lineup and trying and doing what he can. But, at this point, we're going to do what's best for the group and do what's best for PJ. And that's probably not having him here.
Just a big adjustment, PJ doesn't play, then Eric goes down. And it's a lot of stuff that is out of our control, but we have a choice on what kind of people, what kind of players we're going to be, whether or not we're going to come and continue to fight, continue to play for one another, continue to stay positive, because it's easy to be negative right now when things aren't really going well as a whole. But we gotta stay positive and keep working hard if we want things to turn around. So it's tough right now, though. Definitely, it's hard. But at the end of the day, it could be far worse.
All right, let's just quickly talk about women's football and talk about what happened yesterday. Dream Stars ladies, Cecilia played a 1-1 draw, and the coach says it's a turning point. And I understand they've been losing games, and when journalists, our people started asking him, he said, "No, we are not waiting for the turning point. We have already reached the turning point
of it."
And we'll see what happens. But at least it's good because we expected Rivers to come and take that 3 points. But the fact that they were able to just find a way, get a draw in the game, is really good. And happy for Dream Stars ladies. And Dream Stars ladies and Ibom Angels in that position you don't want to be currently.
You don't want to be at all.
But we'll see what happens. It's match day 9, 5 more matches to be played. We'll see how far they can go. But pictures from the game. Let's quickly take reactions from that game from both sides. One liking the draw, the other thinking it was 3 points dropped.
I think it's actually already the turnaround. Rather than thinking it's going to be the turnaround, I think it is already the turnaround. I mean, against an opposition like this, they are, high up there in the table. The same way people expected us to lose to Robo, they expected us to lose today. In fact, they expected it to be a rollover. And my girls fought hard. It was a grit out there. I mean, make no mistake, even though it was a 1-1 draw, I mean, we were leading in the first half up until very late on. To a corner kick that I think shouldn't have been. But that aside, I have to give credit to them. And I told you at the last game as well, even though we lost 5-0, they worked hard. It was just a better opposition. But today we've decided, you know what? We're not going to sit back and just watch them and respect them. We've got to fight for our lives. We're at the bottom of the table and we need to get out of there.
For me, it was a great thing. And it was even my first goal of the season. So I felt very, very happy. And I really thank God for it. It was really a tough training. When we lost to FC Robo 5-0, they really trained us very well, and they told us that we could do it. So that was why we came to them and we did it. And our next game, we will surely win by God's grace. Though it won't be an easy game because it's against Sunshine Queens, but we'll win. Because today's draw, we didn't expect it, and we got it.
Okay, obviously they're excited with it. But then Rivers Angels that came all the way from Port Harcourt to Lagos, thinking that, well, they would just overrun Dreamstar ladies. It just wasn't to be. So the coach, of course, is disappointed. And Deborah, who actually scored the goal, 85th minute equalizer, she's also not impressed with their performance.
The game is very difficult today. Very, very, very difficult. Underrating cost us what we're facing now. We would have won the match right from the first half, but because of complacency. And I warned them before now. They should not be at that level. Well, they have learned their lesson. They are going back to the drawing board. So they will do it. My target is supposed to be I'm the champion of the league.
Well, it wasn't what we expected though, but we give all thanks to God because it would have been a different case entirely if we had lost the game. And we thank God that we are still unbeaten. And we promise our fans out there that we are going to still put in our best to continue to make Rivers State as a whole proud. But as a matter of fact, as a player, I don't take any team for granted, and I don't take any player for granted because the fact that she's putting on a boot, I don't think we have any right to take any football team for granted. And the approach towards our next match will put in more effort, and we believe Robo is also a strong side. So we'll definitely keep the fight, and by God's grace, we are very sure we'll remain unbeaten.
That's Deborah Abiodun, who scored the equalizer for Rivers Angels, 85th minute. That's the reason they couldn't lose that. Rivers Angels have been unbeaten. They haven't lost a game yet this season, though they've had 3 draws. This is their 3rd draw now out of 9. And, of course, they will be facing FC Robo. That's their next game. It's also going to be right here in Lagos.
All right, interesting. We need to go on a break right about now. When we return from that break, we'll talk about the CAF elections. We're talking about Amaju Pinnick and his bid to get on the FIFA Council. Of course, we'll talk about the Europa League, the English Premier League, and a lot more for you when we return from this break.
Welcome back. We have our studio guest right here Ademola Ogunbona. It's been a while. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
It has been. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, you guys can talk to us on our Twitter handle. I mean, the Europa League was yesterday, and Manchester United could not win at Old Trafford. It was a draw. And, of course, Harry Maguire, miss of the century. That's what you call that. They just couldn't win. So what's going to happen to United? Will they crash out next week when they go to San Siro to face AC Milan? Talk to us about that. Of course, this weekend, Arsenal, Tottenham, they're all in action in the Premier League. Tell us about that, what you think about the Arsenal run. They were able to win their game against Olympiacos 3-1 away from home, which is really cool. And, of course, Tottenham also winning at home. Also, the Nigerian Women's Football League is still on. Rivers Angels still unbeaten. Will FC Robo be able to end their run? Well, that's going to be next week. Talk to us about that. And of course, the CAF election is today. Also, FIFA election, Amaju Pinnick trying to get into the seat of the FIFA Council. Those are the things we'll be talking about on the program today. But for the CAF election, we'll not be doing all the talking alone. An Egyptian journalist, Ami Fami, will be joining us to talk about this, what's happening in CAF. He's right there in Cairo. Will be joining us to talk about these elections, talking about the CAF Executive Committee elections, of course, the FIFA Council elections are both holding today. So when Ami is ready, we'll be able to take him to tell us about this election. So quickly, Demola, I mean, we have elections. The one of the CAF, of course, we already know, yes, is a selection. You already have a candidate.
Yes.
It's just for him to...
It's just an announcement.
An announcement, right? So we're waiting for the announcement. What do you think?
Yes, we're waiting for it, and I think it's a good one for the South African, Patrice Motsepe. He's also the owner of Mamelodi Sundowns, and they're doing pretty well in the South African League, top in the league as it is. And I think he will bring his reward of experience into the position, especially when it comes to finance, which is where most Africans have been clamoring for, that they are not representing us in good light. So with his reward of experience, let's hope that his 4-year tenure will, yield something good for African football.
All right, let's bring Amir Fahmy into the discussion right about now. Greetings to you, Amir. Thanks for joining us on the show this morning. We'll feel very honored to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. A pleasure is all mine. I'm very pleased to be with you.
All right, let's just dive straight into it. I'm here with my colleague Cecilia Omorogwe and, of course, a friend of the house, Ademola Ogunbona. We're going to be trying to share ideas on what we think will happen today. First, I want to get your thoughts on the elections, not just for the CAF presidency, for those striving to get on the FIFA Council. How do you think all of these things will play out today?
Well, actually, it's a bit different, because the elections for the presidency is already done. It's just like assuring that Patrice Motsepe is going to be the next CAF president, because there is no one running for the position other than him. And actually, it's a new phase for African football, because it's the first time that an Anglophone or an English-speaking president is taking over the Confederation of African Football. While in the FIFA Council, it's a little bit tricky, especially in the Anglophone seat, because it's not easy to know if who is going to win, because Amaju Melvin Pinnick of Nigeria actually is the hot favorite, but also there are very big names, especially Walter Nyamilandu of Malawi, who is already the outgoing FIFA Council member, and who has already a good backing in the southern part of the continent. We have to recall that he already defeated Danny Jordan of South Africa 3 years ago. So it's not going to be an easy election, and I think the Anglophone seat for the FIFA Council is the one to watch during this election. However, in the Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese bloc, it's quite easy to guess who is going to win. Of course, Hafzi Lakja of Morocco, and mainly Hani Abu Rida of Egypt, as Khaireddin Zetchi of Algeria is going to withdraw in the last minute, as far as we know. And for the Francophone seat, it's also between two candidates. And as we know that Constant Omari of DR Congo is not eligible for another term, so he will not be there, and both candidates are going to take the seat. So I think the Anglophone seats, the battle which Amaju Melvin Pinnick is going to be in, is the hottest battle. And the CAF presidency is already done, and we know that since it's an English-speaking president, so he took one slot from the two seats for the Anglophone Africa. So it will be a very tough battle, I think.
Let me just ask you this one quickly. Do you think that, I know we're a few hours before the elections, do you see people stepping down? Do you see a situation where, just like in the case of the CAF presidency, the election, a lot of people stepping down? We've also heard that one or two people have stepped down in the hotly contested seats that you've already talked about. So a few hours to the election, do you see some people stepping down for one of the major candidates?
Well, actually, it always happens in Africa. There are always some last minute stepping down from here and there, but it's very complicated in the Anglophone bloc. I think maybe there might be some kind of agreement between Nyamilando and the Zambian candidate Andrew Kamanga. We have also to bear into consideration that Nyamilando was a close friend to Ahmad, the former CAF president, and maybe he's not now very wanted or very desired to be there as everybody wants to be a part of Ahmad reign. So maybe I think he can withdraw, but I don't see it happen. Actually, I expect a very tough election, and but I expect Amaju Melvin Pinnick to clinch the seat because he, Nigeria is a very big country in Africa, and they have a lot of influence, and also several major African footballing countries have expressed their backing for Pinnick's bid. And the way that he got away from the position as a CAF vice president like a year ago, maybe got him some sympathy, some credibility, and I think he will use this for a new era of African football. And I think he also has good connections with the new CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, so that will definitely help.
Okay, talking about Motsepe, I mean, we know that for 6 months, FIFA had to put in some people, talking about the Secretary General, Fatma, to actually take charge, to oversee the governance of CAF and all that. And everyone at that time were talking about the CAF is actually weakened right now because of the influence of FIFA. Now you're going to be having a candidate that specifically be selected to become the next president. How much influence will FIFA have on CAF when Motsepe becomes the president of CAF president?
Well, that's a very good question, because actually, even if we imagine that it's a fair election and FIFA didn't interfere at all, even if we imagine that scenario, we will find that it's a bit complicated because Patrice Motsepe is a very busy man. He's a mining tycoon in South Africa. He's always there in Davos Forum, and then he has a lot of business to foresee, and he's not going to be involved in the day-to-day governance of CAF. So I think that will leave his previous two rivals, and now his two vice presidents, Ahmad Waldi Yahya of Mauritania and Augustin Senghor of Senegal. They will be more and more involved in the day-to-day action and the day-to-day governance of CAF. He will not be there all the time, I think. And for the FIFA interference between brackets in African football, I think this is a very important concern. And I think Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, will not be interested in being portrayed as the actual governor of African football. So I think because of all what was being said in the media, he will leave some authority to Africans themselves to govern the football in the coming few months at least. He knows that everybody is saying that he's now governing the African football, and some people are going even further than that, and they say it's the FIFA colonialism of African football. But he is aware of that, so he just doesn't want problems, and I think he will to avoid some criticism. He will leave some big room for Africa, for the new elected administration to take some decisions. But as I said, it will not be Motsepe as the man involved in the day-to-day policies and the day-to-day decisions. It will be mainly his two vice presidents, Augustin Senghor and Ahmad Waldi Yahya.
All right. Since we can take it for granted that Patrice Motsepe is the new CAF president, since we can take it for granted, unless something, I don't even think anything could happen. What are the areas you think should get his attention? What are the things you think straight away he would want to tackle as the CAF president? He has said a lot. We know his manifesto. He has said, but which are the areas you think should get his immediate attention?
Well, actually, I think there are two main concerns for the new CAF presidents. First of all, it's the transparency, fighting corruption, because when Ahmed was elected 4 years ago in Addis Ababa in that General Assembly, I remember that he made a promise to fight corruption. And like less than 4 years later, he was already suspended by FIFA for breaching the ethics code. So it's very complicated. But I think the profile of Patrice Motsepe can make us a little bit optimistic about that, because the man doesn't need money. He doesn't need to use any funds of CAF or to use any kind of money from CAF. So I think in the material of fighting corruption, I think he can really do it. The other thing, which is really tricky, and it needs a lot of experience in how the African football is run, is the way that African competitions, both for clubs and nations, are being run. Over the years we have watched some differences in the CAF Champions League. Sometimes they say, okay, it's a one-match final. Some other times, no, two-legged finals. And even with the coronavirus, it was trickier and trickier. Even for the African Nations Cup, we have seen the last edition was held in Egypt here in the summer. And now the next edition, Cameroon, was moved back to winter as it was always held. So there was, some inconsistency with with African competitions, and that was, very bad for the image of African football and the way that African football is being administrated. So I think this is a very important thing, and it has to be a main concern for the Motsepe's administration to have a stable and a consistent agenda for African football competitions, so that we can generate more revenues from marketing, and we can gain better reputation. And I think this is something that he has to care about, along with fighting corruption.
All right, Amir Fahmi, we want to thank you for your time on the show today. It was nice having your input on the CAF elections. Hopefully we get to do this again some other time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So that's Amir Fahmi, of African football expert based in Cairo. Adama, let's just, you've listened to him, and I feel from your body language, your opinions are not too far away from some of the things he said.
Absolutely. I mean, the man his profile comes in very huge and very handy as well.
The billionaire doesn't
he's a billionaire, doesn't need the money. We hope that there won't be conflict of interest with his club, Sundowns, but we expect that he will bring his experience to the fore and bring
attract sponsors,
of course, and then a better image for African football as well. So we will have better representation as well, because he has the connections.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, hopefully he gets to do that. Well, let's listen to Amadou Pinnick, talking about the FIFA Council election. Some of the games that were played just Thursday. That's what we are moving on to next right now. If we can get that track of Amadou Pinnick talking about his chances at FIFA Council. And for the Nigeria National League, what we talked about is the most important league in the country. And of course, match day 6 fixtures, we have that. And of course, results of Thursday, match day 5, starting with the game between Shooting Stars and Osun United. Shooting Stars are beating Osun United by 3-0. And you also have the Nilayo and Giant Brillas that ended goalless. And the game between Joint Commerce and Apex Crane was in Lagos. It was 1-1, it ended. And for the game for this weekend, match day 6 fixtures, we have Group A, starting with Group A, where you have Mighty Jets and Gombe United will be in action. FC Taraba and Aklosendi also in action. Economy Warriors and Sokoto United in action. EFCC and Rarara FC, NAF Rockets and Oya Sports are some of the games to look forward to this weekend in the Nigeria National League match day 6. And A2,
United, ABS will take on Sanfora United, Niger Tornadoes will be up against Yobe Desert Stars, Road Safety will be up against Kebbi United, DMD will take on Malum Fashi for size. You have some other fixtures as well in Group B1. Osun United taking on Ekiti United. Calabar Rovers will be up against Van Dressa. Giant Brilliants up against Newi United. Go round will take on Nilayo FC. Stationary Stores will take on Delta Force. And of course, Shooting Stars will take on Dynamo Force. These are the fixtures in the Nigeria National League. Let's also take these ones out of the way as well. In B2, Apex Crane will take on Crown FC of Ogbomosho. Remo Stars will take on Joy Comet. Ibom U to take on Bendel Insurance. FC1 Rocket, I like that name. FC1 Rocket will take on Gateway United. Godowski will take on Oli Arrows. Oli Arrows, what a name. All right. And of course, you have Bayelsa United taking on Ibia Comets. And like Cecilia said, NNL is a nursery. It's very, very important in development of the game in Nigeria. Well, I don't know if you have a thing or two to say, too many matches to look at. And I'm very happy, in spite of all the unique challenges with COVID-19, NNL is back.
It is back, and it's a good one for the athletes in particular. I mean, they've been, doing a load of exercises over time and know where to, put all this energy into. So it's good that it is back, and this is like a pool where young talents are going to be, used as a feeder team to the senior team. So good one that they're back and they're expressing themselves on. I'm just all the names are just so catchy, and there are some very interesting names there as well. So.
Yeah, the Shooting Stars just trying as much as possible to come back immediately because they are refusing to lose so far. MPFL will get our attention next, of course. Match day 15 fixtures for this weekend. Jigawa Golden Stars and Aqua United will be in action. Yes, so are you finding bad? Rivers United away from home. We'll see if they can finally get their hands of that 10 million. That's what Rivers State Governor is promising. Any team that gets away with victory will have 10 million. But the ones of Rivers Angels that they had last time is yet to pay that money anyway. So we're waiting. MFM and Eimba will also be in action. Yes, Eimba coming to Lagos this weekend. Wow. Lobby Stars and Plateau United is another game to look out for. Sunshine Stars and Nasarawa United. You have Dakada and Katsina. Rangers and Damawa United. Abia Warriors and Kano Pillars. Kwara United and Heartland. Wiki Tourists and Warri Wolves. Other games to look forward to this weekend in the Nigeria Professional Football League. Quickly, I mean, when I said Eimba coming to Lagos, he said, wow.
Because I'd love to go see that, but I wouldn't want to, flout COVID restrictions, and all that. Yeah. But it's a match.
As a journalist, just get accredited on time and you'll be able to get into the stadium. Some fans, but it's controlled. It's controlled, yes, it is. I would love to be a part of that. I mean, Eimba is coming to town. What bigger match can you get than Eimba coming to town to Lagos to play MFM? It's going to be an interesting watch. Did you have any particular game you want, if you were telling somebody to look at the league, particularly, or it's still going to be the Eimba game? If you can see my paper here, you see that I have MFM and Eimba here. Maxed out already. It's a match I really love to see. I think Eimba just going from that victory they had against Ali Benghazi, that's talking about the CAF Confederations Cup. They want to come to Lagos and see how they can get to the top, because right now they have some games to play. Kwara United still topping, but MFM are still trying to see if they can push up the table, but they've not been able to do that. After losing to Plateau United just last weekend, 3-1, they will definitely want to come home and get something out of Eimba. But then we need to go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the Europa League and also the games for this weekend in the English Premier League. Time to go to Europe. Europa League, some games that were decided. Not some games, all the games, right? First leg round of 16. Young boys, yes. Yeah, Dynamo Kyiv and Villarreal. Chukwueze was in that game, but he didn't score. It was 2-0. AC Milan and Man United, we'll talk about that game much later. Slava Praha and Rangers. We have two Nigerians in this one. Peter Olayinka and, of course, Joseph Aribo, both on either side. Granada and Moda, it was 2-0. Olympiacos and Arsenal, it was 3-1. And even when Arsenal fans were complaining, hey, William is not playing and everything and all that, but then they still got that victory, which was most important, despite the fact that he came in late. But then 3-1 is a cool way to go. Let's flip over to other games. Roma and Shakhtar Donetsk, it was 3-0. Tottenham and Dinamo Zagreb, it was 2-0. Tottenham winning by 2-0. Now, the talking point definitely is the game between AC Milan and United. AC Milan scored 2 goals. I mean, disallowed one. A volley, very sweet one. But then they said, according to VAR... Controversial handball. Yeah, controversial handball, so it couldn't go. And the first one was deemed he was offside. And then United had a chance to actually get it on. Harry Maguire had just the net right in front of him. How he hits the ball to the net, I'm still trying to understand what happened in that. And of course, Amad Diallo, I mean, sweet boy, he came on. Just, what Antonio Martial couldn't do. And he did it. And then we thought, okay, United finally got a narrow win. And then not knowing that 92nd minute, there was going to be an equalizer.
Let me just say this. I don't know what you're about to say. I just quickly say this. I think it was a fair scoreline. Say whatever you wanted to say.
I think it was a deserving goal by AC Milan. I think they deserve a point in that game, by judging by how they played.
Yes.
But I think Man United should have done better. They could have, gotten the game wrapped up in this first leg, and then when they go to Milan next week, hopefully get a draw or something. But for Milan to score, Simon Kjaer, former Tottenham player, with that header in the 92nd minute of extra time, I mean, it's just a downer for Manchester United. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is talking tough that they're going to go to Milan next week and get a win, which
they have to score. No place to hide.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Since he brought up the name of the Manchester United manager, I think it's only fair that we listen to what he has to say. Let's listen to Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking about the game and the way forward.
We know we have to travel down there and score a goal and win the game. So, or score two and draw. So. Of course, it makes it more difficult. Always when you concede at home, you're never happy when you do. Of course, 1 minute before full time is also a disappointing time, but that we've got to take that on the chin and just travel down there next week and go for it. It makes it harder, but it makes us have to go down there and score goals and win the game. So that might suit us. It probably will suit us. We are a team that's better when we go forward, more direct.
All right, so that's the Manchester United manager. Dumola, before we leave that and go to the English Premier League, just other matches played. Tottenham, we don't know the extent of Harry Kane's injury. Even Martial, that was subbed off in that game. Then also the mild drama with Arsenal. Once again, pressing the self-destruct button.
I mean, I have no doubt about Arteta's ability, but they shouldn't throw caution to the wind all the time. Passing from the back, it's a good way for you to build and score. We've seen them do that time and again. But then when you're committing same errors, twice in that game yesterday, just before that goal, I mean, it almost cost them. And to see that it eventually cost them, and if not for the heading prowess of Gabriel and the start by the sub later, El Neni, I mean, they could easily have drawn the game. But kudos to them, they fought back. But I think they should try and cut out, passing from the back all the time. Those errors will eventually cost them against standout positions.
Harry Kane, Martial.
Harry Kane, there's a derby coming around this weekend against Arsenal. But Mourinho said that it's just a slight nudge. Yeah. It was iced yesterday when he got the injury, quickly took him out. But I know Harry Kane wouldn't want to miss that match for anything. I mean, Arsenal seems to be one of his better customers. So I'm sure he'll be back for that game for Tottenham against Arsenal.
Okay.
Martial said it's a hip injury and all that, so we're not sure if he's going to be fit. But Rashford definitely will be fit for this weekend. They face West Ham this weekend. Now, let's take a look at the game of EPL for this weekend. Newcastle and Aston Villa will slug it out today. And after that, you have Leeds United and, of course, Chelsea will also be in action. Crystal Palace and West Brom is another game to look forward to. You have Everton and Burnley, Fulham, Manchester City, and Southampton and Brighton, Leicester City and Sheffield United. You also have Arsenal and Tottenham. Of course, that's the London derby everyone is waiting for. And you have Manchester United and West Ham will also be in action this weekend. That's all for the English Premier League and the game, which, of course,
obviously has to be Arsenal and Tottenham. Can you do that in 30 seconds, Demola? We have the papers and the tweets to take a look at. Arsenal, Tottenham, where do you think it's going?
It's a derby game. When it comes to derby matches,
form is thrown out of the window.
Form is thrown out of the window. But I think the way Arsenal is, and again, Mourinho, I'm sure I wouldn't want to lose to an Arsenal side, but it's going to be a tactical battle between both managers. I can't really call it.
tactical battle.
Doesn't want to call it. Okay, before
right.
we take a look at the
I'll just
papers,
take 2 tweets before we look at the
I have an
papers.
interesting tweet. I don't know if it's the one Cecilia wants to read. Manchester United fans, not my words, it's on Twitter. Joshua Ishola says Manchester United is already out of the Europa League. Ibrahimovic will punish them. That's his opinion. But a tweet from Joshua Ishola.
Ibrahimovic should be fit for next Thursday, right?
Yes.
To face them.
Yes.
Okay, Femi says, good morning. I don't know why Arteta is starting Willian ahead of Pepe. I hope he won't start him against Tottenham up Gunners. Okay, we hope so too. It's your club. Quickly, let's look at the papers here, Yemi. Complete Sports, that's where I'm starting off with. And Complete Sports, you have the big picture of Paul Onuachu. And Paul Onuachu here says, I will fight to regain my Eagles shirt after being placed on standby list. I mean, not everybody was happy about this. He's the highest goal scorer in Europe right now.
Yes.
But then he's on standby list with the Gennett Ross list. That's Complete Sport. That's where I am. And Osimhen not ready for AFCON qualifiers. That's what an Italy-based African football expert, that's what he's saying this morning. And of course, you have 20 handed Eboué, April 30th deadline to sign Super Eagles star on a permanent deal.
Which one of the stories get you talking quickly?
Osimhen, I think he's just coming back. They should just try and ease him off.
You should leave him.
Leave him be and let him, get back his groove and get back to his best form.
And then take Onuachu to replace him, right? Because that's what I thought. When I saw the list, I thought they were going to leave out Osimhen because the injury he suffered that he was out for a long time was when he came to play for Nigeria. So he's just coming back. I mean, he's scored a goal. I thought, why not just let him stay for a while? We're playing Lesotho and Benin Republic, so we can actually play those 2 games without our top star striker.
Okay. All right. We have 2 papers for review, but I'm very sure we're not going to be able to read the 2. But let me just look at Sporting Live. A lot of interesting stories. Chukwueze rated 6.5, and Haaland is Laporta's priority signing. A lot of interesting stories.
Does he have the name? Does he have the money?
They have the money.
Which one of these stories? A lot of interesting stories, but as we go, which one of these stories get you talking? PSG open to Ronaldo option if Messi doesn't join. They have the money.
Because Juve, they're obviously not renewing Ronaldo's contract. I think Ronaldo is going to go to Hollywood. Okay, I didn't say that.
I think I think he should go as well. I mean, he's been there, he's done that, and Juventus will be looking to get him off their wage bill. So I think it will be good for Ronaldo.
Team, around some younger players.
I mean, one of their former presidents was saying the 100 million euros they used to buy him should have been invested in younger, hungrier players, but they brought him there to come and win them the Champions League, and he hasn't done that, so he has to go.
Okay.
Yeah, bring him to win Champions League. Why the other departments of the whole Juve squad?
Check
their midfield. Have you seen the midfield and the defense?
It's
Come on, Juve has gone away from their usual tradition of having you have key players in every position to just having some 2 or 3 star players and the others nothing to write home about.
As we close, from the part of Nigeria I'm from, they will say no matter how big a tree is, you won't call it a forest.
That's it.
And that's what I think Juventus should have learned. But that's how we wrap up the show today. But first, we have to thank Ademola Ogumona for his time on the show.
Thank you, Yemi, for having me. Thank you, Cece.
All right, so that's it. Across the finish line, like I said, we're back here again next week. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. You see us again next week. I'm Yemi Adebayo. Bye-bye now.
I'm Cecilia Mogbe. Thanks for watching.